crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. In today's Brother Scan and Cut Tips and Tricks tutorial, you are going to learn how to create a stamping mask out of Mylar. We're going to be cutting this bear using Mylar, and then I'm going to show you how to color with it using some sponging techniques, a little bit of blending, and some other things. Now I've already explained in the last video, which is, I guess you could call it part one, although I didn't call it part one. It's called the scanning cutting position adjustment, and it's how you align your machine. I didn't have even amount of white space around this little bear, so I showed you in the last video that I published on YouTube how to align this, and I told you how many times I would try and let you know, and it did take me about 5 or 6 times. I think I lost count. I'm finally got the bears the way I like them, and you're going to get to see at least 10 projects I created using the stamping mask and this bear. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. We're going to stamp the bear again, and if you want to know how to just cut out stamped images, like how to cut out this bear, please check out my last tutorial on this aligning your scan and cut and the scanning cutting position adjustment, because we're not actually going to cut out the stamped image this time. We are just going to go ahead and cut out this bear using Mylar. I'm going to jump right into that because I have a lot of coloring to show you, and I really think in this case this is one of those times where the technique is more important than the settings on your scan and cut. So what I'm doing now is I'm using stamping block I, and I'm inking up a bear. Now you should be, if you want to follow along, inking up a stamp that you have. Okay, if you have a stamp that you want to try this with. Okay, I'll explain where this bear comes from. Okay, I usually stamp it twice for good measure, and for the lessons, but in this case, this stamp, I'm so confident that it's going to scan right the first time because it's there's such good contrast between the foreground and the background. It's great lines, they're all enclosed. I don't need any special techniques to get this to recognize. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this into my scan and cut. And by the way, when I was stamping that, I used this little silicone mat that we sell at Stampin' Up. I like using this silicone mat to get a nice even image. And when a stamp is so big like this, I tend to ink it while it's upside down. That's just another technique. As opposed to trying to land the bear into this little ink pad, it just might not get good coverage. I think it's easier to ink it up while it's upside down. Now, my mat is really dirty, and you can clean it with Dawn dishwashing detergent, warm water, scrub it off, which I've been doing a lot, and re-stick it, okay? Because the mats are not usually very sticky, so you can re-stick it. And I do have videos on, several videos on how to re-stick it on the different mats. So I'm going to put it about there. The reason I'm going to put it right there is the right side of my machine happens to scan, I recognize better than the left side of my machine. And another reason I'm putting it there as opposed to up in the corner is because here's my piece of Mylar I'm going to cut it out in. I don't want to ever go too close to the edge, okay? And because when I color this with the sponge coloring, when I use this mask, you're going to need some space around it. So that's why I'm putting the bear right there, to give me some space around this when I cut out my Mylar. I will have a link to the Mylar I use in the description of this video. And I have shown how to do this with different models of the machine before. Right now I'm showing this on the SDX125. That's the model I'm showing. And you can follow along with other models of machine. And just see what I was finished cutting. Let's go back to that. I was just cutting out some glasses for some New Year's cards I was doing. All right, so let's put that down. But you can follow along with whichever model of Scan and Cut you have, and I'll put the settings for the CM models in the description. Because I'm using Autoblade, I don't have to use any special blade or anything. I just change a couple settings. So the first step is this. Let's just scan this in as we would any other stamped image, any other thing. But instead of cutting it out in paper, we're going to cut it out in Mylar. We're going to click on Scan when you turn on your machine. Okay, you see pattern and scan. We're going to click on scan. We're going to directly cut this out, so we're going to click on direct cut. This is asking, where do I want to temporarily store the information? I want to store it on my machine as opposed to Canvas Workspace. And now it's asking how big is your mat, and my mat is 12 by 12, but I only need to scan the top area, so I can save time by selecting 12 by 6 as opposed to 12 by 12. It just saves time. Only scan the top half of your mat if that's all you need. And always use black and white recognition mode, even if you have a colored stamped image, even if you've colored it, which you probably shouldn't color it before you cut it, but that's another whole story. Always use black and white recognition mode first, black and white, because, or it's also called grayscale, because it's just going to give you, it's going to save you a lot of time. Color recognition mode has a lot more detail and it has to look for, so it's just a lot easier to use black and white recognition mode. Okay, so what it's doing now is it's scanning in my stamped image. So there's my bear. I'm going to select OK. So now I have all these unwanted bits. If right now I were to go to cut this, I would get all this dirt on the mat. These are all lines, by the way, that got selected. These are all lines and different information. So the first way to get rid of unwanted bits is just to take your little stylus and make a selection just around your bear. Okay, so that's one way to get rid of them. But you don't want to make a selection too close to your bear or too close to your stamped image. So another way to get rid of those unwanted bits is to say ignore object size. It's safe to say, because this bear is huge, that I can ignore anything up to 2 inches and I will get rid of everything but the bear. If you ignore objects too big, you're going to get rid of the very thing you're trying to scan. And you can tell that I haven't got rid of it yet because it's still there. If you keep increasing your ignore object size and your items disappear that you're trying to cut, that means you've gone too far. So I'm ignoring objects that are 2 inches. And then lastly, the other thing I could do is I could edit them out. I could click in the edit and I could trash the objects I don't want. Okay, that's it. I'm ready to cut my mask. I'm cutting along the line. So in other words, the last tutorial I explained about how to cut these stamped images out, and I cut a 0.4 outline distance around these bears using this outline distance here. But when I make a mask, the mask is going to be used to color these bears or to color the opposite. A mask is really used to either cover up the bear. You could cover up the bear and use it to color your outside, color the outside of your stamped scene, or you can use it to cover up the background, to mask the background and color in the inside of your bear. Okay, so in other words, I need to cut right now this Mylar along this line, so I don't want an outline distance at all. I want a 0 outline distance. I'll put all this in the description of this video so I drive that point home. So no outline distance because I'm making a mask. So we're going to click OK. And now we're going to go ahead and click cut. Now, we can't just cut. We can't cut because a few things. We have to change our settings. And here are some of the things I did. I only had to go to 3, but here are some things that are default. I just want to show you the defaults. Pressure is going to be auto. You can tell something's a default when there's a black rectangle around it. Okay, so here's what I do. Now, normally when I cut Mylar, it doesn't matter what I'm cutting. Now, it doesn't matter how detailed it is. When I cut Mylar, like here's Mylar, okay, sometimes you might have heard me call it acetate in my other tutorials, right? You may have heard me refer to this as acetate or plastic. I've showed how to make stencils, how to use pattern interval to create your own customized stencils, etc. When I cut Mylar, I always lower the speed because the thicker your material is, the slower your speed has to be. Slower than what, you're asking? Slower than what? The default. Slower than the default setting. The default setting is always, let's see, always indicated by a rectangle with a black square around it. Okay, so this is the default setting. So I know I need to lower my speed. Okay, so for this particular bear that I'm doing right now, I just had to lower it to a 3. The cutting speed I went to lower to 3. And the pressure, I just went up to a 3. Normally I go up to a pressure of 7 when I cut Mylar, or sometimes 6 or 7, but this was just such an easy cut. It's just like there's very little details in this bear. It doesn't have to do anything but go around the head and go around the body. It's just such an easy cut. So 3 and 3, that's easy to remember, is all I needed to change and when I cut this Mylar. Now I'm not going to click start yet because I have to change. I have to take the paper off. See? Take the paper off. Let me make sure I'm in focus here. And I am. And I'm putting the Mylar on. Now, even though you saw that I had the paper like there, right? I'm putting this Mylar up to the corner because I want a little bit of an extra area around it for when I color. Okay. Now, if you want to be sure, now my mat's pretty it's sticky up in this corner, but if you want to be sure, you can now add some painter's tape if you want to make sure the Mylar doesn't slip. And you can even cover up the registration marks now that you're done scanning. Okay, so you don't ever want to cover up the registration marks when you're scanning, but now that I'm done scanning, I can go ahead and put some painter's tape there and I'm good. All I really need to do is get through this one little cut, one little area. Hey, and you never know. You never know how that works out, but I just like to tape it up to be sure. So now we're ready to cut. You saw my settings. You just, I'm going to click on start and I'm going to go ahead and cut it. It's now going to do, this is an SDX machine. It's doing what's called like a depth detection. It's an Autoblade technology. So it's going to determine how thick is the material in relation to how thick the mat is. So it does a little test where it puts a little nick on the top of the mat and then it does a little cut around my bear. Now what it's going to try to do is cut again. So watch what happens. It's already cut once. Let me just show you. I'm going to go ahead and say quit cutting. The reason I know I don't need to cut again. Okay, so it's going to try to cut again, and I just wanted to give you that little tip and trick. There's no reason to let it cut again. It thinks the material is really thick and it's going to try to cut again. You don't need to cut again. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, you don't need to cut again. It got it on the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and I hit pause. It gave me a chance to get my, to hit the right button. If you're not sure what to hit, you hit pause. Then it gave me a chance to say, okay, and quit. Right? It gave me a chance to quit the cutting. So what's the harm done if I cut twice? There is no harm done. There's absolutely no harm done except that it takes more time. But the only reason I don't go ahead and let it cut twice is because it doesn't need to cut twice. And it's just another opportunity for the ScanNCut to give me some kind of problem or error. And what if the mat slips during the second cut? What if it doesn't cut exactly along the line on the second cut? Right? There's no reason to do a second cut if you don't need one. It's just another opportunity for something to happen. It's a machine after all. So, and hey, it wears your blade down over time, right? I mean, think about all the reasons you don't really need to cut twice. If it cut right the first time, then you don't have to cut it a second time, even if it thinks it did. It saw how thick the material was when it did that little test where it did a little cheep, and then it went and it said, oh, this is thick material. I have to cut twice. All right, so this is what we need. Let me go ahead and take, so now I don't need my stylus. I need my spatula. So you're going to get this off. Okay, now save this. Don't ever get rid of your inside. So you have a mask, and the inside is very useful, and so is the outside. So now I'm going to show you, as I always do. If you're new to my channel, it's kind of how I roll. Now I show you what, I always show you the practical use of what you just learned. I like to give you lots of tips and tricks on my channel. So now, I'm going to put down a mat. Let me move the machine. We don't need the machine anymore. I'm going to put this down. This is just a mat to do some coloring on. Okay, we have our mask. And that. We have our little bears. If we need to use those, well, actually, yeah. Let me just start out by I'll just use one of those just to show you something. That'll give you an idea before I show you my project I'm going to finish. All right, so let's just say this bear here. So one thing you want to do is if you're about to, the reason I don't, let me just put a little piece of this is seal. This is like rolling adhesive. I want to hold that bear down so it doesn't move. I'm going to put my mask like that. Now, you might be saying, well, if you didn't cut it out first, wouldn't it be a lot more stable? Let me put something there because I got a big light shining right there. Wouldn't it be a lot more stable if you just left it onto the big sheet and didn't cut it out until after you colored? Yes, but not all stamped images cut out after you color them, and you could have wasted a lot of time coloring them and they don't cut out right. So that's the reason. For many reasons, I like to color after I cut out images. All right, so I'm going to talk about a few techniques. So this is what I was using for Flirty Flamingo. This is what I was using for Calypso Coral, and this is what I was using for Petal Pink. Okay, so I'm just going to show you some sponge coloring is what I want to show you. I'll show you the what I'll do is show you the Flirty Flamingo, because I have one I want to do in Petal Pink in a minute. So let's get out the inks. It's very important to have your coordinating colors. So the reason I like having a pile of these, and you're going to see all the projects I created with them, is then I can match these up with the coordinating colors of my projects. The Designer Series paper by Stampin' Up, which you can get on my website unless I indicate that some of it's not available yet, but in most cases the things I'm using are available, and I like to coordinate the colors with the projects. So for this paper pumpkin kit, and I'll show you where I got this from. So right now I want to show you that I'm using Flirty Flamingo on this bear, okay, because it matched some paper I had for a project, and I just open up the ink like this. Now when it's important when you're sponge coloring with a sponge like this, or this is called a blending brush, these are our new blending brushes, or when you're sponge coloring in general, you don't want to just dip straight into your ink unless it's like really, really faded ink. Like some of my inks I can dip right into because they're so faded, but in this case the Flirty Flamingo is pretty juicy, so I'm just going to ink up the stamping block instead. That's a little trick for you, so that I'm not getting super amounts of ink on my sponge. And then I'm even going to, see how dark that would have been if I just put that straight on my bear? So now I'm even going to put a little bit on this Mylar, just to make sure I'm not putting so much straight onto the bear. Okay, and then that's what I'm going for. See, I'm going for this light bear. This is like the best pink ever. I mean, it's not the best pink ever. I actually had a pink I liked better a few years ago. Maybe a couple years ago it was called powder pink, but this is like a really cool pink because it's a fun like happy pink. Whereas petal pink, not a happy pink. It's like an orangey pink, but it does match some of my projects. This one's more, this Calypso Coral is really a dark pink. So I guess right now I would say Flirty Flamingo is the best pink we have right now. We have Blushing Bride too, but that's also kind of a depressing color compared to this Flirty. The Flirty Flamingo is the happiest pink we have. Not that I get depressed looking at Blushing Bride or other colors, but you know, hey, I just like to keep it real. So you see what I'm doing? I'm protecting. I had an outline distance around this bear, a little white outline distance, and because I secured the bear before I started coloring, I'm not accidentally coloring the outline distance because I secured him a little bit. That's a little tip for you. But don't secure them too much that you're going to rip the paper later. So I'm just using the blending brush, and it's probably best to go in a circle, you know, when you use this blending brush, like if you're going to be doing large areas of your cards. But for this little bear, I found that just going like that was fine, just going from like the outside in, so I make sure I got the outside. Okay, so I'm happy with this happy pink bear. And then what I did is I took some of my different kinds of pink here, like my, let's see, these are my Flirty Flamingo light or my Flirty Flamingo dark, and I just did little things like here, the dark, I would put like a little bit, oops, you can, actually I don't need the mask anymore for this part. I'm just going to show you how I just did a little bit of, let's see, making the ears a little bit darker. I think that side was dried out. Time to get some new blends markers. Some of mine are dried out. I colored in the ears a little bit. I colored the eyes sometimes and the face a little bit. Definitely the chest. And then I lightened it up with a different pink I have that's a pink pink pirouette. It's a retired pink, a very light pink we had, and I kind of lightened up the chest because I didn't want it to be super dark with this other light pink I had. But you can also use what's called the color lifter to lighten up areas. But if you use a lighter color when you're blending, it will lighten up. You can actually see it get lighter. And then I get the ears a little bit lighter, and I also kind of colored the whole ears. I made that part a little bit lighter and then the whole background a little bit lighter, so the ears were different. And then finally I did this little guy. I just got some little Wink of Stella and made his nose have a little bit of glitter on it, a little bit of bling on the nose and eyes. So now I have a fun little pink bear, and I can put the little, and see, be careful when you rip it up so you don't rip the bear. And then you have that mask helps you color these all really quickly. Okay, and then you can use that again to secure your next thing. So that's one way to use your mask. And don't worry, I'm using the regular Whisper White, which is retiring. So meaning this type of paper I absolutely love. I love its ink absorption. But unfortunately it's retiring. We're going to be going with a basic white. So get Whisper White while you can. This is the regular Whisper White. The thick Whisper White we're already out of. The color does bleed through when you use alcohol markers, but it doesn't matter because you're going to be putting them on a project. All right, let's show you another use of it. So here is, I have a project I'm in the middle of here, and I said, oh, I better wait to finish this project with my crafty friends when I show them this mask. Okay, so here's just another use of it. So in this case, you were coloring in the stamped image that you cut out. Okay, and then in this project, I'm stamping straight onto the Whisper White paper, and then I'm going to make a card by popping up. I'm going to color this bear in, okay, we're going to use, which one should we use? Petal Pink. I'll use this one, and I'll use Petal Pink. It's a little bit different than the blending, but it's just, you're going to roll the ink instead. It's just that the blending brushes are new, and I've been using these rolling sponges for years before we got the blending brushes, or however long. Okay, so let's build this card. We're going to take the mask, and I have other ones. So the nice thing about Mylar, I mean, let's face it, the really, really cool thing about this is that you can wash it when you're done. It's reusable. But if you don't have Mylar right now and you're like, I really have a project I want to do some masking on, then just go ahead and cut your mask out of paper. It's just that your paper is going to get, you can't use your paper that long. You can't keep washing it and reusing it. I like to have several masks. Like here's one I was using for my soft Seafoam earlier. I was doing this one for my bear, and this is the one I used for Petal Pink earlier, so I'll just keep using it. So here we go. We're going to put that down. And remember, I have that little piece of tape behind there, so it's already that little bit of it's secure. It's a little secure. It's not too secure, but I'm going to put this down. So here's the other use for it. You're going to put this right onto your paper. Okay, and then I'm going to use this one, and now I can go right into the Petal Pink because it's such a light color that it really doesn't matter that I go straight into the ink pad. Plus, there's not a lot of ink on this ink pad. It's not a bad idea to still use your stamping block to put some ink on it, or you can even put some ink on the Mylar first. But I think for this color, since it's such a light color, I'm just going to go ahead and roll it straight into I'm going to roll this. This is called a sponge brayer, available now on my website, and it's something that you can get. The blending brushes won't be available until, yeah, see, that's still so light it's barely even showing up on the Mylar. The blending brushes are not going to be available till our new catalog is released on January 5th. But these sponges are available now. These sponge brayers. You get 2 handles and 4 sponges. Okay, so this is how you use them. I just keep rolling into the ink, and I keep rolling onto the bear. Okay, now recently I did a tutorial with the Gnome for the Holiday stamp set. And in that tutorial, I used the reverse of the mask. I showed how to cover the little gnome house and how to color and emboss and do all kinds of cool things to your background. We used some heat embossing. So we also used mask, but instead of coloring in the inside, which I did show you the inside, but I also showed you how to color the outside. So I'll just tell you a little bit about that because I'm not going to use it for this project, but I do want to tell you about it. Okay, what I'm trying to do is get this Petal Pink bear to be like that color, or at least sort of like that color. You see how many layers I had to put on it to make it that color. Of course, it dries a little bit darker. So I'm just concentrating on the bottom of the bear because this mask, I just want to get the bottom of the bear dark, and now I can get the top of the bear dark because I want to line it up again. Kind of, if you do it, see, this mask, because I stamped this bear a little bit different time, the mask does not exactly line up. Like my new mask is going to line up with this bear better because I stamped it. Don't remove your tip. Don't remove your bear from the stamping block. And when you wash it, because when you do go stamp again, it kind of gets in a different spot because it's photopolymer. And I think the stampers will know what I'm talking about. It doesn't exactly line up in the same spot on your block, and you're like, well, now my mask doesn't exactly line up. But the whole idea I'm teaching you is how to fish, so you can get the idea. You're learning the techniques. You'll be able to apply these, hopefully, to your projects, and I hope your wheels are spinning as to how to apply this technique. Okay, so then what you do, I'm so happy with my little bears. Okay, now I'm going to just do the little, so that's how you use this, but let me just mention about the part about the other reverse mask, or not reverse mask, but the little piece. So if I were to, let's move this away. Let me close this because whenever you do stuff Always close your ink, okay? If I were to wanted to color the background right now, I would do this. I'd put this on there, on my bear, okay? You following? I'd put this on my bear. Don't adhere it because you definitely would rip the paper. And then you take whatever colors, like here, this I was using balmy blue, and I color in my background, okay? I cover up the bear, but color in my background. So that's another way to use your mask. But we're not doing that for this project. So for this project, I just like to touch it up a little. I do have some petal pink. So here is a petal pink blends marker, and I want to touch it up a little because I didn't get all the way quite over on those ears. So we'll do what we do to the one side, we should do to the other. A little bit on the ears. I'll make the inside of the ears a little darker, and make the little chest a little darker. So I like using a combination of ink. Now ink is, when you stamp with Memento Black, okay, let me just explain that too. When you use Memento Black, it's like a hybrid ink. So you can use alcohol markers with it, and you can use regular ink with it, and it doesn't really run. It's a good ink for that. You just don't want a watercolor with it. For that, you would use another kind of ink. But anyway, it's a really good ink, so I can kind of work with my alcohol markers and my regular ink, and it's kind of fun to be able to do all this stuff with the same ink. So that's all. I just used a little petal pink, and I can take that other kind of pink here, a little bit of this pink, and just color in the ears a little. Color the inside of the ears, although that side is drying. It's drying out. I'll just use a little bit of this light flirty flamingo in the ears, just to make the ears a little different. And then I can just use my Wink Stella. I like to make the noses shiny, like a little bit of, it's just kind of fun to make the noses. Or is it snout? The snouts are shiny. All right, so that's it. So now this is how I want to put this project together. I just want to take, okay, a piece of, well, here's going to be, this is going to be the card. This is Calypso Coral. Okay. And the reason I'm using Calypso Coral is it goes with the paper pumpkin kit, which I'll show you in a minute. I have the instructions, and I have a couple pieces here. So what, oh yeah, that one doesn't contrast. So what I did is I took the envelope, this is the envelope out of the paper pumpkin kit, and I'm using that as sort of a pop. See, I even stamped the back before. I didn't like it, and I stamped the other side. So when I use the envelope, like, I just like to use it as a coordinating color. It's called Soft Seafoam. Oh, come on. There we go. I'm just using a little bit of the snail or Seal Plus adhesive. I'm using Soft Seafoam. It's one of the coordinating colors. And you always know what the coordinating colors are with the paper pumpkin kit because it's written in the instructions, which I have over here somewhere, which I can reach. Okay, and so that's why I like to use like parts of the envelope, and then I'm using my own cardstock, and I like when things coordinate. And I don't even think Petal Pink was one of the coordinating colors, but I really didn't want the background bears. These are called my background bears. I didn't want them to overshadow. Now I'm not using this one because this is not one of the coordinating colors. That's for a different project. I didn't want the background bears to overshadow my big bear that came in the kit. So this is how you can use like some combination of stamps and then things that came in your kit. Some embellishments that came in the kit. All right, so let's see. There's nothing inside that card yet. We're gonna just put some, this is called, again, Seal adhesive, Seal Plus. I like the Seal Plus. It might cost a little more, but you know what? Hey, it works better. It sticks better. I always gotta check that I'm not making my cards upside down. Okay, and now this is, so now here's the kit. Here's the instructions over here. Okay. Oops, was that the instructions? Nope, this is how to subscribe. Okay, if you want to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, that's my QR code, meaning you can take a picture of your screen right now. Take a picture, and that's how you find my website. Oh, I just got on what's called auto lock or something. Auto focus lock, who knows? All right, so now here's what I'm talking about. I got all kinds of stuff stuck on my, there we go. This month's Paper Pumpkin Kit is December. Okay. Happy holidays. It's still December. And I hope you all enjoyed your Christmas. or whatever holiday you may celebrate. All right, so this is the paper pumpkin kit. This is where I got the stamp from. Okay, so the paper pumpkin kit's called Beary Comforting, and there's instructions in there and all this stuff, and I'll do another tutorial. I'll do another video just on things I made with this kit, but I have loads of stuff already to show you. So on the back it says the coordinating colors. It says Basic Gray, Calypso Coral, Cinnamon Cider, Daffodil Delight, Rich Raspberry, Soft Seafoam, and White. I chose Petal Pink because it's sort of a neutral color to make my background bears, because I didn't want them to overpower my Cinnamon Cider bear. Here's the Cinnamon Cider bear. So you're like, where'd you get that cute bear? I didn't make him. He was already in the kit. See, so the kit already comes with koala bears, a cute little raccoon, and this cute little bear. But I like to also do some stamping when I send my cards. So this will be like a birthday card, and I put hooray, hooray, hooray. Hooray is one of the stamps that comes in the kit. All paper pumpkin kits come with stamps. And so here's my Cinnamon Cider bear, and I'm going to put him right there. So I'm going to pop him up with dimensionals. Okay, I'm going to pop him up. Now I can zoom back out, as you can see me do the rest of this project. And that's how I decided to do it, because I thought, hey, he needs like some background. He needs some backup singers, you know, or some background bears. And then this is dimensionals. These are just foam adhesives. I put already the little gift. I didn't want to make you wait for every step, so I put a little gift. He was holding a little present, and I popped the present up with dimensional, and his hand was already sliced. Meaning there was already like a little slice for him to hold stuff in his hand. So he goes right there with his little backup bears, and that's the card. And that's how you use a stamping mask. And then I have a couple little things to add to their hands, which I got out of something that's in our new catalog coming up, released not July. I hope I didn't say July earlier. I hope you guys know I meant that January 5th in case I said July, but it's January 5th. I'm just putting some glue on these little guys. These are from, there's a new product medley in our new catalog, and it is called Flowering Cactus Product Medley, and it happened to have Calypso Coral as the color, as a coordinating color. So Calypso Coral, there's the Calypso Coral right there in the present. It matches these flowers. Like, even though Petal Pink wasn't one of the colors in this kit, I decided to use it anyway because I didn't want to overpower my Cinnamon Cider bear. I wanted it to be different color bears. And then I used a Calypso Coral card, my own card, even though cards come in the kit. Okay, and now I'm going to show you 10 other projects I created using this stamping mask technique. It might be more than 10. Actually, it's probably less than 10. I don't know if they're all finished. I have projects in various stages of completion. So, let me grab some things to show you. Okay, I have this little box. Okay, this little box has a wobble spring. My bear is on a wobble spring. Okay, let me put this right here. And it's one of our new treat boxes, our new style treat box. I colored this in Flirty Flamingo. And I put some Adidas socks in there, wrapped in one of the Stampin' Up! Ribbons that's retired, but it's sort of matched. It's a different, yep, that's powder pink. This is my favorite color of pink ever, but it retired. But I have this ribbon that's powder pink. Anyway, so that's just sort of some little socks I put in these treat box. These are called Love You Always treat boxes. And that's what I put in this box. So that's the little thing. Now that paper I can show you. I can't open up the new catalog yet, but I can show you that paper, because that paper is called Artistry Blooms. It's part of our annual catalog, and it's available now. And I used some, it has Rich Raspberry in it, which goes along with the, oh no, I'm sorry, that's not Artistry Blooms. All right, we're not gonna, what is that paper? That's you know what, that's Sand and Sea. That's part of a new catalog. I can't show you that. I will show you the Artistry Blooms though. I can't open the catalog this one belongs to. This paper here is called Sand and Sea, not Land and Sea. It's called Sand and Sea, and it does have Flirty Flamingo in it. Because I was like, wait a minute. When I looked at these colors, I'm like, wait a minute. This doesn't have Flirty Flamingo in it. This is the one I wanted to show you. This is Artistry Blooms, right here. See, this is Artistry Blooms, and it does have the coordinating color from the kit. Rich Raspberry, and it has, see, Calypso Coral. So this is a Calypso Coral bear. Look at the difference in those bears and why it's important not to color your bears until later, because then you can make your bears match your projects depending on what kind of projects you do and what kind of paper you use. So again, a bear on a wobble spring. I'll put links to my wobble springs that I used there. So that is Artistry Blooms Designer Series paper for this one. And for this one is ScanNCut Designer Series paper. Okay, I need to move my microphone for 1 second while I grab some more projects. All right, I'll even have more projects than this when I do my paper pumpkin video because I have a lot more. These are just the ones I actually did this stamping masking technique with, and that's why I'm showing you these in this video. So again, another treat box. You Are on My Mind. That's Flirty Flamingo. Here's that same paper. Let's put these together. This is the Sand and Sea paper. Sand and Sea. And then inside here is a cute little bear bath bomb. I got those. I got a whole box of those. So I have 6 of those. I'm going to be making a lot more presents like this. And it fits this little hand sanitizer. So a bath bomb and hand sanitizer. Great for care packages. You know, whether I use them now or anytime. I mean, they're good for what I mean is they're good for any time, any kind of care package, anytime. Okay, so those are just some ideas. And what else do we have? This is my husband's Christmas card. Okay, so I did, he crushed it. Look, he already crushed the card. Oh, that's okay. I had to get it out of his suitcase. We did a little staycation for a night. All right, so this is the card I made him. This is soft seafoam bears in the background, and it's just the same technique I was just showing you right here. It's the same exact technique where I colored the background bears with the mask, and in this case I used, let me put this here, soft seafoam for the bears, and then in the front bear I used balmy blue and some pool party. And I used Bear Hugs for You this holiday season. It was a perfect stamp for this card for him, and it's from a retired stamp set called Fa La 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 Friends. See, Bear Hugs for You this holiday season. It was just a perfect, I didn't like this bear. He's not as cute as this bear. So, but that stamp is really cute. All right, so that's that card. And this is oh my, I'm getting tongue twisted. It is called Snowflake Splendor Designer Series paper. Available now at my Stampin' Up! Store, Snowflake Splendor. But it is retiring soon. All right, so some more Snowflake Splendor. While I'm on Christmas cards, here's a Christmas card I made with the bear. And he's holding a snowflake. I have a little tree. This is Have Yourself a Very Merry Christmas. Again, I just looked for some bear stamps I had, and I found some bear stamps. And again, this is retired, but I always like to tell you when I'm doing my projects what I used. And here it is. Have Yourself a Very Merry Christmas, and it's from the Cookie Cutter Christmas stamp set. There's a bear in there, but he's not as cute, the little stuffed animal bear, as this bear is here. This bear is much cuter. Hey, I just like to keep it real. And then I used the Snowflake Splendor Designer Series paper for this project. This little tree comes from a Cuckoo Clock dies, which are retired. Okay, here's another one. May Your Days Be Merry and Bright. This comes from a stamp set called Curvy Christmas. Curvy Christmas. I'm looking for that. Okay, it's not quite, what's the word? It's not quite in reach, okay? So it's not quite in reach. But that's where it came from, Curvy Christmas, and these are called Curvy dies. That's how I made my snow-covered hills. This is So Many Snowflake dies. This Happy New Year is from this one here. It's a retired set called Making Spirits Bright. Happy New Year. I just dug out whatever Happy New Year stamp I could find. I think I have one in this other stamp set called Well Said, where you have to build the words. I'm pretty sure I have it in that set too, but I didn't want to dig it out. I mean, that one was handy. And then these two bears, okay, this paper, Snowflake Splendor, coordinates with these two bears, which is balmy blue color. The color is balmy blue. Okay, so here's another bear example. I put the bear on a wobble spring for a card. See, he's on a card, but he's on the wobble. You Are on My Mind, and this is a card that came exactly from the kit. This is Soft Seafoam Bear, and Soft Seafoam Bear this literally took 5 minutes. This card took 5 minutes. It's one of the easiest cards you can make, because as long as you have your mask, you can sponge color it really quickly. I did use a little bit of pear pizzazz because the soft seafoam just wasn't dark enough for me. I tried soft seafoam and it just wasn't making my bears. Well, you can see it here. This is pure soft seafoam without any pear pizzazz. It just was, these aren't very dark, right? but then I wanted it to be darker, so I used some Pear Pizzazz color, another green. Okay, here's another bear. This is using Calypso Coral for my bear. And I cut out the little hearts here. Whenever you see a heart, like in this one and this one, whenever you see a little gold heart, a tiny gold heart, it doesn't come in the paper pumpkin kit. Instead, I used this punch here, which is available now in my catalog. It's called the Dog Builder Punch. Awesome! I mean, not only is it awesome for dogs, for making dogs, and there's like, I mean, but it's awesome because it has a heart there. And I like how the heart like fits right on the, in the bear's hand. And this little cards are, they're little cards that come in our new catalog. Okay, that's available January 5th. If you need a catalog, let me know. That same little card set, this same little Valentine's card set, which I just forgot the exact name of, this same little set is where I stamped this bear onto as well. And then I used the mask. He looks like he's two colors, but I actually colored him in Calypso Coral. It's the background that was two colors. Okay, the background was two colors, and then I colored him. I used the mask to color this bear onto the cool background. And I stuck him onto this card with the hooray. Okay, and then using that same technique, using that same set. In other words, this little note card set came with these little things, but I didn't want to use these little, I guess, doily things to cover up these cards, so I made them into two separate cards. Okay, and then I made a Valentine's Day card here. Happy Valentine's Day. And that's from this is another paper pumpkin kit. I can't remember which one, but it was probably last year's paper pumpkin kit. These two cute little koalas come with this month's paper pumpkin kit. Very comforting. So that's where these two koalas came from. I have them holding the heart. This is Flirty Flamingo. That bear right there is Flirty Flamingo, and this paper is last year's paper. So if you like paper, we do have an end of year closeout sale right now, and if you really like paper, you definitely want to get the papers you like while you can get them, because like this paper, for example, is not even available anymore, and it was perfect for you, but our heart punches are. Okay, I hope that was all the projects I have to show you, but stay tuned because really there's a lot more. I'm in the process of making boxes from cards. That's when you take a card like this and you turn it into a box. And I'm putting one of these bears on the front of that box. And I have a lot more things that I want to show you. And such as the little bear chocolates. I have little bear chocolates that I've been putting into some of the projects. Okay, so those are just lots of ideas for you. Oh, here's a bear chocolate. Here's one. Here you go. That's one of the things I wanted to show you. Okay, so there's lots of things you can do with the bear theme or with any of your stamp sets, really. They all have a theme. But when you change your colors of your paper, like this Sand and Sea paper, Design Stories paper has Flirty Flamingo in it. Whereas this paper here, this Snowflake Splendor paper, for these 3 cards, has Balmy Blue and Pool Party in it. Okay, so then I color the bears a different color. This here, this one and this one have Calypso Coral in it. So I was able to use Calypso Coral as a color, or it has a coordinating color, Calypso Coral. This is again Flirty Flamingo. Soft Seafoam because it coordinates with this kit. And then you saw how the Cinnamon Cider Bear, that's one of the embellishments, kind of just goes with those petal pink ones. So you change your color of your bear based on the mood or the theme of your projects. Well, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you'll apply this to whichever stamps that you have. If you really want to delve deeper into the Scan and Cut, definitely look in the description. There are links to my classes I teach on the Scan and Cut, my different courses, and should be in the next day or two coupons for that you can use from the end of December until the end of the year. They'll be good for 5 days. I'll be posting them in the description of this video soon, and in the Papered Chef Scan and Cut user group, and in my newsletter, which you can subscribe to by going to my website, and you'll also get a hold of those coupons as well. The courses never expire once you sign up for them, but the coupons expire, and I offer those. I always try to offer those at least once a month. That's all for now. This is the Papered Chef, and enjoy the rest of 2020.